It's 2:40.
The dates.
The only question is, probably helpful.
Okay, we'll get it.
They shouldn't get bagel. Then. Good morning, Michael Glass. Michael,
Yeah, I had to get it off mute. Good morning, Rabbi. Good to see
good
you.
morning. Good to see you. Now, the question is, Janusz says we should put a piece of cake for you, all right? So when are you coming to get your cake?
It'll be another month.
Yeah. All right, so we have two choices. We could put it in the freezer, and I suspect that's what we will do, so you'll get a nice, fresh piece of cake. They're coming before Pesach.
Yes, the beginning of
Okay.
April.
How's Karen? Good, give regards to all.
Thank you. Same to Chevy.
Good morning, Rabbi Yudin.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Baruch Hashem, nice to have you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
That's only for those that want to hear me. Okay, can you hear me now? Is this better? Okay. No, they say they could hear. Mindy, they say they could hear. Free to touch it.
It's not on. Okay. So now.
Okay, is this better? Yes? Much better. Thank you. Okay. So first of all, it's so nice to see everybody. We celebrate this month for special birthdays, Yadush and Karen, Frankel, Elliot Green. But I want to especially acknowledge Mr. Abe Bowski. We want to thank him for bringing to us a great deal of joy every single day. Allow me to explain. There's a fascinating medrash, and it's one of those midrashim that are found in the introduction to the Ein Yaakov. And basically, three rabbis had a debate, which is the most important verse in the Torah. So, truth be told, it's a very hard medrash to understand, because if you ever stood next to me on Friday night and you noticed I try not to say hello to the fathers, I try to say hello only to the Kinderlach. So I'll ask a child, what are you learning? And I'll say, I'm learning Vayigash. And my immediate response is, that's my favorite. So after a while, some of them catch on that this man has a lot of favorites. And the answer is, every pasuk is my favorite. But the rabbis, three of them, who debated this question, what is the most important verse in the Torah? So I'll open up. You tell me, what would you have suggested? Come on. Say it again. Perfect. Okay. Means you're not to allow a witch to just continue her practice. And it doesn't only include a female, even though Rashi picks up on that and says that clearly, even in biblical days, it was a trade that women went into more than men, which is why it's in the feminine. But I appreciate Rabbi Avi's humor. So the three that are suggested are, first one, clearly Shema Yisrael, because that's the Jews' pledge of allegiance. The second one is you have to Riach Kamocha, which is, so the first one was man to God, the second one is man to man, and the third one you wouldn't guess. It's not Machashiva, even though I appreciate his humor. The third one is a verse from yesterday's parsha, and wait a second, tucked in to the middle, towards the end of yesterday's parsha, the Torah talks about the Kohanim and their service in the Beis HaMikdash. We're getting them ready for opening day, which is in a few weeks. And the pasuk that the third rabbi suggests is Esakeves Echad Taseh Baboker. It's not Shabbos, but you can write it down. Second book of the Torah, 2:29, 39. Easy. 2:29, 39. What's the pasuk? One offering, literally, one sheep shall be offered in the morning, and one sheep is to be offered in the afternoon. Very strange. That should be considered the most important verse in the Torah. And the reason that the rabbis give for it, Leon, I hope you're listening. Leon, so you'll be able to give this over to your father. The rabbis explain it that this verse refers to the consistency of the Jewish people, day in, day out, day in, day out. That a offering was brought every morning and every afternoon. And so, I don't want to diminish the significance of Janusz, Carol, and Elliot's birthday. Ms. Hashem, you should be privileged to celebrate the 99th birthday of everybody else that's here, and to say to Mr. Belsky, I really can't call him by his first name because I was raised by that generation that when somebody was older than you, you didn't call them by their first name. So I'm not going to call you Abner by his first name, but I'm just going to say how thrilled we are for the inspiration that he provides for. Thank you. He provides for us each and every day by his being here. And we say to ourselves, wow. Wow. So Mr. Bowski in good health for many more years. Okay, So this week is Parshas Titzaveh, Kisisa. It's a very rich parsha, and I'd like to start with the very famous episode of the golden calf. Okay, and we'll start with the following. If you have Chumash, just don't get any crumbs in the Chumash, because it's getting what is it? Less. It's 6 weeks from tomorrow night. Okay, take a good look at your bagel. 6 weeks from tomorrow night, it will be prohibited. The Pesach Seder is on a Sunday night.
Wait, 4 weeks. 4 weeks is gonna be per.
It's from tonight.
4 weeks from today is per.
Good.
So then another
2 weeks.
No, 4 weeks.
Pesach is 8 weeks from Monday.
Pesach, 8 weeks from now.
Yeah, per is 4 weeks from today.
Purim is on Shabbat, but you cannot do a Shabbat, so Shabbat Purim and Purim is together.
Okay,
Sunday.
good. All right, here we go. Let's take a look on page 500. What do we have? Verse 30. Okay, Moshe comes down from the mountain. Moshe sees the Jewish people dancing around the golden calf, which is not just that they're acknowledging on the honeymoon, so to speak, having a fling with somebody else, because we had just received the Torah 40 days prior. So, page 500, verse 30, was on the morrow. Moshe said to the people, Atem, you, Chatosem, have sinned, Chatoah Gedolah. Now, it's at times like this, like we miss Dr. Bilchler, but I'll throw it out to everybody. Do your homework. Is the word hate, is it masculine or feminine? Meaning, should the verse read, it's clear what the verse means. Moshe is saying that you have committed a grievous sin, a great hate. Okay, that's clear. Chatosem, chatoah gedolah, a great big sin. My question to you is sin in the feminine, and therefore it's chatoah with the extra hey, and it's gedolah, which is a significant one, or is hate really in the masculine? And the verse should read, Atem chatosem hate godol. Which one is it? So you're going to find out and let me know. I'm going to share with you a beautiful idea. Well, the whole thing, the topic is not beautiful, but it's a very sharp insight of our rabbis, perhaps of Rav Hirsch, who says as follows. What's the difference between masculine and feminine? Generally speaking, a masculine form is an active one, and a feminine form is passive. That is generally the rule. In which case, what is Moshe saying? You've committed a great sin, but it was a sin of passivity. In other words, there are some sins that a person does by performing sin, by doing it, by we can think of enough alternatives in our mind that a person who speaks lashon hara, a person who puts his hand in a place where they should not, it's not your money, etc., etc. That's a proactive. And here we have a sin which is not a proactive sin, but we have a sin which is, excuse me, what's the term? The opposite.
Reactive.
Well, I don't know if it's reactive, no,
Passive.
passive. That's it. One is active, this is passive. What's the passive sin? How many men were there when we left Egypt? And the Torah tells us between 20 and 60, there was 600,000. Out of the 600,000, how many participated in the golden calf? Look at the verse number 28. Take a look. The Levites, I'm on page 501. The Levites did as Moshe said, and about 3,000 men of the people fell that day. The Levites were instructed, and this is why they took over from the Kohanim. All right? The whole idea of originally, and this goes back to Yaakov and Esau. How so? Yaakov and Esau had the same birthday, appropriate for today. They were born on the same day. The only question is, who was the older? So come on, what's the difference? If your birth certificate says 905 and the other one's birth certificate says 910, what's the difference? Big difference. The difference is who is going to represent the family in the Beis Hamikdash. Whoa. At that point in world history, it was the firstborn. So therefore, it's a rather strange request. Esau is hungry, and Esau says, without the word please, give me some of that soup. And Yaakov says, sure, I'll give you the soup if you trade or sell me your birthday. What does that mean, to sell me your birthday? It means that now Yaakov is the firstborn. Now what? What changed? The answer is now Yaakov, in place of Esau, is going to be the one to represent the family in the Beis Hamikdash. So being a firstborn was a major privilege in those days. And until, so listen carefully, 40 days earlier, we still had who would be the representatives in the Beis Hamikdash, the Bechor. The Bechor, the firstborn of each family, they would represent the people in the families and everybody in the Beis Hamikdash. So this way, I'm not a Kohen, and most of us in this room are not Kohanim, but yet our firstborn, whoa. So we each felt proud and had somebody representing us in the Beis Hamikdash as a result of the sin of the golden calf and the Levium. Look at the very top line. Moshe stood at the gateway of the camp and he said, whoever is for Hashem, join me. And all the Levites gathered around Moshe. So this was such an important moment in Jewish history that as a result of this, that the Levites were able to, as the Torah teaches us, whoever, don't look who they are, if they worship the golden calf, they deserve to die. And that is what happens. And therefore, as a result of this, the Bechor, the firstborn, lost this privilege and it was given over to the Levium, okay, and to the Kohanim. So where is this found? Come on, it's found in the Parshas. Yeah. Yeah. Go to page 738.
Rabbi,
Yes.
so you said that this was like passive, what they did, right?
Right.
But also, do we know the composition of them? Like, and this wasn't a lot of them in the Arab rock to start with. Were they the dominant group that was involved in this? Because you always have people that are followers and you have people that are leaders. So really, how guilty were they in allowing them to come in the first place? Might have been a mistake by Moshe.
Okay, your question is very good. We'll see about that in 1 minute. But let's understand something. I commented on the words that Moshe uses. Moshe says you did a chatoah gedola. You were passive. And what does that mean? It means if there are 600,000, so 597,000, look at it that way, did not. So 597,000 did not. Nathan can't contain himself. He's jumping up and down. What's troubling you, Nathan? Come on, Hashem. What's the big deal? Why not? The cup is half full. And what's the cup half full? 597,000 did not participate in the sin of the golden calf. So instead of making a big deal, which, quote, the Torah is doing in a negative way, this is terrible. So really, the Torah should have said, hip hip hooray for the 597,000. And the answer is no. The 597,000 could have, should have, finished the sentence, stopped. They should have stopped there. What are you doing, right? And there's no question how such a majority could have overrun a minority. So the fact that they did not, in other words, they had a philosophy of live and let live. You want to follow God. He gave us the 10 Commandments. He took us out of Egypt. That's your good. That's what you can do. And you, the other 3,000, want to, live and let live. So the Torah is teaching us through this first major sin of the Jewish people that Judaism is not a democracy. Judaism doesn't say whatever you want, you can do. No, just the opposite. We are bound by certain laws, and in this case here, we are being punished for not squelching. Yeah, so I want you to see the verse very clearly inside. Excuse me, 738, 739, okay, verse 11 and 12. Shem spoke to Moshe saying, behold, I have taken the Levites from among the children of Israel in place of every firstborn. So the firstborn until the sin of the golden calf, they were the Uah, they were the representatives of each family. They were the quote unquote big shots. Now the truth is, listen carefully, in a few months, I'm going to read Parshas Korach. Now Korach, you all remember, led a revolt against his first cousin, Moshe. Now don't get me wrong, Moshe had a pretty good reputation until right after the sin of the spies, when unfortunately they said, oh my goodness, we're not going into the promised land. 40 more years, we're going to be in the desert. They're not a happy bunch of people. the Jewish people at that time. So now here comes Korach, a very good orator compared to his cousin who has a speech defect. And he's got to offer them something, you ready, that the people are going to say, hey, not a bad platform. He can't offer them Starbucks in the desert, nor can he offer them Carvel. Okay, so what in the world can Korach bring to the people? Okay, so watch. If you look at the top page 820, page 21, Korach, the son of Yitzhak, the son of Kohath, son of Rabbi, separated himself, the Dosan and Aviv, the sons of Eliab, Gad and Pelez, the offspring of Reuven. Okay? And listen carefully, go to verse 3. 1 second. Oh, verse 2, excuse me. They stood before Moshe with 250 men, right, from the children of Israel, and they have especially, okay, they have the representation of the tribe of Reuven. Why from the tribe of Reuven? Because that is a hint, okay, that what? Korach says, vote for me, right? I'll be your leader. And I will restore to each family that your firstborn will be the representative. As if to say Moshe on his own took it away from the firstborn and gave it to the Levites. Korach said, I'll be your leader. All the firstborn, whoa. So every family was happy once again. My son, not my son, the doctor, my son, the lawyer, but my son, the representative in the Beis HaMikdash. Whoa. So you see what's happening over here. So the sin, first of all, was a sin of passivity, that they were passive. And that in of itself is considered a grievous sin, which is what Moshe calls it, which is a very important point for us to quote unquote swallow. And what emerges from this is Kol Yisrael a raven zealous. All Israel is responsible one for another. And this concept of MYOB, of mind your own business, is one which is not a Jewish concept. Now, we spent on this topic several years ago, a whole night on Shavuos, because there are times when it's better not to get involved. I see somebody doing something wrong. So if there's a chance they're going to listen to me, then by all means, I have to find a way of informing them. Obviously, I can't do it in, let's see the verse. Okay, let's see the verse. Once we've come this far, let's go. So the Torah teaches page 660, 661. All right. So the Torah says the following. Verse 17. Thank you so much. Verse 17 on page 660. Let's do the English in 661. Okay. So the Torah says, verse 17, you shall not hate your brother in your heart. Okay. Now, why might one Jew hate another? So listen carefully. What shall you do? Instead of, quote, hating him, go on with the rest of the verse, you shall reprove in simple English. You shall rebuke in simple English. You shall tell the next person that you're doing something wrong. In other words, instead of minding your own business, I see somebody who is, okay, now, listen carefully. I'm walking home from Shiur, the weather is gonna get nicer. I see somebody watering their lawn, all right? And that person is Jewish. Now, if I don't say anything, hello, have a nice day. Am I as much as doing what the Jewish people did 3,500 years ago? They saw a golden calf and they did nothing. I see this fellow watering his lawn and I'm not doing anything either. So let's go. What are the options? Anybody have a stone? Maybe a rock. Stones are enough. So one possibility is, that's right, she doesn't exactly like that one. Let's go with another option, right? But the idea is, right, we throw stones. Rumor has it, it's not gonna work, okay? Let's try something else. So if you just walk by and say, Shabbos, and there's a lot about Shabbos in the parasha. I don't know, we'll get there. All right, so Shabbos, somehow yelling Shabbos is not gonna do it either. So what could you should do? I don't know if on the spot it is the time for a theological discussion. I don't know if that's the best time. You might have been absent when they taught in school. I know you didn't go to that school. Everything has to be taken into account. But you're gonna make yourself, this is Shabbos, okay? And you know where the house is. You're gonna find out what the guy's name is. You're gonna find out. You ready? As crazy as it sounds. Invite him to your home for Kiddush. Get to know the person. Somehow, and then once you get to know him, it could come up. Much better chance that you're gonna have a chance to influence him if you befriend him as opposed to saying shagets or anything else. That's not gonna work. So, but there is an obligation. Now, let's start all over again. You're not to hate. What might be the reason that a Jew might come to quote unquote hate somebody, another Jew? So, listen carefully. I want you to know this is Pasuk 17. Now, the rabbis say beautifully that, in other words, I see an injustice and it builds up within me that this person's action, that's what bothers me. And therefore, what should you do? You should find a way of, quote, rebuking him. And now, watch this, a very powerful phrase. Do not bear a sin because of him. And I'm going to tell you that there are two ways to interpret this verse, the last part of the pasuk. You should not bear a sin because of him. So let's go. We'll have a color war. This team against that team. What is the meaning of the end of the pasuk? Again, the Torah says don't hate, comma, rebuke, comma, and don't bear a sin because of it. What's the sin that you might be bearing because of it? There are two possibilities. Anybody? Here we go. One possibility is in the process of my rebuking him, I'm going to embarrass him. So you who might have meant well, that you don't want to see this Jew violating Shabbat, but because you embarrassed him. How could you do that? Don't you know it's wrong? People are walking by, what's wrong with it? So by rebuking him in a negative way, then you got a sin. So one has to be exceedingly careful how they rebuke. The process of rebuking should not be done in the wrong way. That's one answer. And the other answer is, I didn't try. I see a Jew violating Shabbos, and I just move on. I say to myself, you didn't, none of your business. No, then listen carefully now. His wrongdoing, depending on the circumstance, might be on a low level, which we call shogeg. Shogeg means he doesn't realize it's a serious, he doesn't know it's wrong. He never went to yeshiva, didn't grow up in a observant home. What do you want from the guy? So there, if I don't do anything, if I don't try the way to go, at least the back door, you can't say shake his today is Shabbos. That's not going to work. But perhaps you're going to make the effort. If I don't make the effort, come on, just walk on and make believe you didn't see anything. The Torah says that his sin, which might even be inadvertent to him, he doesn't know he's sinning. His sin becomes yours. So do not bear a sin because of him. Wow. So this is one of you should know, my friends. We started with one of the most important. I'm going to tell you, this is one of the most difficult psukim of the Torah. It's a lot easier. I mind my business. Robert Frost, good fences make good neighbors, is not a Jewish theme. In Judaism, you are, quote, responsible one for another, and you have to use your good influence to try to correct somebody from doing something wrong. Whoa, that's a very important aspect of this puzzle. Okay, so let me just, I know you a lot, there's so much in this parsha. Let's go to here. Okay, let's go to 5:10, 5:11. Right after the sin of the golden calf, we find in the Torah that Moshe prays to God to forgive the people. And Moshe has that famous phrase that if you don't forgive the people, blot me out from your book. Right? Moshe's incredible love for the people. If you don't forgive them, says Moshe to God, I'm out. Right? I am okay. Rabbi Yudin, find the puzzle. Let me show it to you. And clearly that works. What does it mean? It works. That I got it. Thank you. Page 500, verse 32. 32 on 501. And now, if you would but forgive their sin, Moshe talking to God, good. But if not, erase me now from your book that you have written. Incredible. That's one of the reasons our rabbis tell us that yesterday's parsha Tetzaveh didn't have Moshe's name. So Moshe prays for God, and God forgives. God forgives by giving them his 13 attributes, 508 in the Hebrew, 509, and this is, okay, as you can see in the margin, God reveals his 13 attributes. Hashem descended, he called out with the name, okay, and he proclaimed, this is verse 6, Hashem, Hashem, 13. Okay, now watch. Go to the next page. So God has forgiven the Jewish people. He gives Moshe the formula that whenever they are in trouble, they should recite the 13 attributes. And now, let's just conclude with the following challenging verse. Verse 10 on page 510. Vayomer, Hashem says to the Jewish people, Hinei Anochi korez bris, behold, I seal a covenant. Neged kol am ha'aseh niflaos, before your entire people, I shall make niflaos, wonders. Funny word that Oswald uses, distinctions. I think wonders would be a better word, like we say in the bracha, ofeiko basar umafli, by that same root, niflaos. Okay, I'll make wonders. Something which had never before been created in the entire world among all the nations, and the entire world is going to see the nations you are in their midst, that my action is Norah, awesome, that I am going to do with the Jewish people. What is this awesome act? Says the Vilna Gaon, something incredible. We know that on Sukkot we celebrate the Ananei Kavod, clouds of glory that God provides the Jewish people. So just think, when did these clouds of glory come? They came on the 15th day of Tishrei, Sukkot. Good. So we commemorate Sukkot by remembering the clouds of glory. Now these clouds points out the Vilna Gaon that we had clouds protecting us when we left Egypt. But when we committed the sin of the golden calf, they stopped. And now they're being brought back. Now, this is counterintuitive. Excuse me. There's been I'm looking for a good word. There's been a serious rift between God and the Jewish people. So had the Torah taught us that now God is bringing back what they had, okay, that shows he's forgiven us. Here's what the Vilna Gaon says. When we left Egypt, the clouds were only for the upper echelon of the Jewish people, meaning the leaders, the elders, but not for the masses. Now, God brought the clouds back for each and every person. In other words, tshuva, repentance, does not only restore the relationship, but can even create a greater relationship than what existed before. Wow. And the truth of the matter is, we can apply this to our day historically. Remember, every nation rises, falls. That's Yaakov's dream. The angels going up, angels going down. Israel, every time it falls, it comes up stronger. And that's what the Torah is teaching us here. And even though they sinned with the golden calf, God comes back to them in an even higher way, that each and every one of them had the Ananei Kavod, the cloud of glory of God over them for the next 40 years. Okay, I think there's so much here, so much excitement. We'll stop. We wish once again a happy birthday, Janusz. Happy birthday to you. You should celebrate your 99th birthday, not necessarily Janusz. Your 99th birthday, Mitzvah Hashem, in Israel. Okay. Okay. Jay Herschel says yes.
My 99, 99, I'm 66.
Good.
Upside
Right.
down. In number 33 upside down. Yeah, but at 106. I forget, but I can have yeah, so okay. Let's go to my question.
what the chair. People, you know, that is so happy that that's one person. Embarrassed by itself. 3,000. They're not as embarrassed because they're rude dogs. It's not, in my mind, it's exactly the same.
So that probably makes the fence.
But they wouldn't be embarrassed. Yeah, right. But I wish we had those odds today. More observant.
It's my brother's bar mitzvah parsha, so I actually knew it pretty well because I heard my father and my brother practicing. Beautiful parsha, beautiful message.
Well, you're gonna get to eat a meal once in a while.
It was so nice, Rabbi. I know you would appreciate this one. Why you? I opened the first ever Jewish advocacy center, and it was in honor of some of the women. It's beautiful, exemplary Jewish values, personal patriotism, and duty. That they were the true people's
see there's leftovers.
No, it's okay, I'll take it for later, thank you.
You good? Okay.
Everything should go to tomorrow morning. Everything should go.
Oh,
well.
thank you. Oh, thank you so much. You too. Have a safe trip.
Good morning. Hello. Baruch Hashem, leave it at there. Yes, with Mrs. Teidelberg. בלי נדר, אני יודע מקור הבוקר זה יותר טוב מהיום.
הרב, אני ממש רוצה להגיד, וברוך השם כבר אשתי עברה את המחלה, ואנחנו עושים את טיפולי פוריות, ואנחנו עושים את זה אצל פרטי כמו שאמרתם, וזה ממש חווה כסף, אני ממש מוכן, רוצה כבר ילד, אמרתי בבקשה תתחנן שיעזור לנו, באמת אשתי ממש במצב קשה אצל אמא שלה, היא שבורה. אנחנו גם אחרי שילד אחד
One
באמת
second.
ממש במצב
Okay.
קשה.
השם זה זרובלי?
כן, זרובלי, כן. אז אתה אומר מחר בבוקר לבוא אליך, מחר בערב לבוא?
מדוע תבוא? אני לא מקבל אחרי 5 דקות, אני מדבר והיא נותנת. That's not the way it works. מה השם הפרטי?
יוסף חיים. יוסף חיים.
יוסף חיים זרובלי.
כן.
תן לי המספר שלך. 845-406. One second, 27-20. Okay. בלי לב מתקשר מחר.
אז מחר אתה מתקשר אליי מחר?
כן, אחרי 12.
אחרי השעה 12, בסדר גמור, ממש תודה רבה.
I saw Rabbi say that how Moshe was so special that he was willing to give up everything, even to save the Bnei Israel. He said, eradicate me. He said, who else do you see in history that was willing to give up everything for Bnei Israel?
You convinced me.
No, it's the Purim story, right? And I was born on Purim, so I know Kisisa, it's like a Mr. Basha. And what's the letters of the names? Moshe, Aaron, Mem Aleph, Mordechai, Esther, Mem Aleph, and Miriam, they're also another Mem. No coincidence.
That's for sure. Okay.
Okay, so Tuesday will probably be on Zoom.
I told you to put a piece of cake. Freeze it for Michael Glass.
Michael Glass, okay. Is that coming back to April?
It deserves it. Freeze it.
All right. Have a good day. Thank you, Rabbi.
Saved a lot of people.
I think so. Could be.
Oh, so maybe, well, maybe six.
Someone's out there.
So Janusz is 66.